Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. How are we all? Loads of new content in the community. I hope you are enjoying that. And of course, the July competition, a week late for me getting it up and running, but the new competition is live. And thanks to Contact Centre Panel for stumping up the £100 voucher for the winner. This one is a kind of first past the post. It's not a draw, but if you're active, you are rewarded with points. I will share the first sort of leaderboard later on today. For those of you that have spotted it, if you post something in there, you get 5 points. If you comment on a post, you get 2. And if you like a post or cheers a post, you get 1 point. Now, good. Jordan has arrived because we're going to do something a little bit special. Let me just invite him in. Hello, mate. I've invited you. Hopefully this is going to work.
Of course it worked.
How are you?
Doing well, mate, you?
I'm good. You're in yet again. You've kept with your different location every time.
Same room, different seat.
I love it. Always keep us guessing.
Always on the toes.
So we are going to do a bit. This is recorded, so I'm going to turn this into our very first podcast of the Team Leader Community Series. And I thought the best thing to do would be to start with that first transition. So when it comes to actually putting this into a podcast, don't worry, I'm going to do an introduction, list in your title and where you are at Gravity and bigging that up. But if we can, Jordan, to jump straight in, when did you first become an agent?
So agent-wise was 2021 in August, and that was my first ever role from using a phone. So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. So IT was my job beforehand, and then going from being an introvert into an extrovert role, essentially, it was a massive transition, but took to it like a duck to water, and never looked back since.
And what made that's interesting because given that you were doing something that meant you didn't have to interact with people to the same extent as being an agent, what made you make that decision to go and be an agent?
So initial was it was going through COVID, and the market was very slim. And one of my friends had recommended for me to go for the role because he was going for the same one, and went and did that. And he lasted 2 weeks, and then decided to get gone. And from there, I just kind of flew within the business. But as for reasoning, it was a case of a job was there. I seen it as a temporary step, and then obviously became permanent.
And that's something that I think a lot of us can relate to, isn't it? Something you think is going to be either a stopgap or temporary. What made you stay then?
The people. So I had my team leader at the time, and awesome, and let me learn a lot. And then from there, it just kind of kept growing and growing, and just kept learning. When I get bored, I tend to move on. And as everybody within the community is more than aware, there is no 2 days the same. So I'm never getting bored. So I'm just gonna keep on learning and thriving.
And what was it about that? You mentioned that team leader helped you learn, but you also said they were awesome. What was it about them that was awesome?
So when you see someone that almost looks 100% all the time, but then you come in and see him having a bad day, you realise that they're human as well. But what he did was, rather than just going with the same approach for everybody, he'd adapt to it. So something that a lot of the people within the team wasn't aware of was his name's Dan. He's actually autistic, and he was the way he went about things. Did notice the smallest differences with people because he just registers everything. And then I just wanted to try and be as much like Dan as we possibly could. And good news is he actually attended the wedding on 30th of April.
Yes, we should note as well for people that are not in the community and just listening to this through Get Out of Rap that Jordan got married and was our first team leader community wedding. Everyone was very excited about it. Congratulations again.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
So, how long then were you an agent?
So technically it was 4 months. So then I actually got tired of being on the phones where it got a bit too much. So took a step aside and had a stint in QA. Learned a few things within that department. Then I was like, let's give it another go. And within a month, there was an opportunity that came up for traveling out to South Africa. And the only way to go out and do that is if you'd gone through like the TL secondment. So usually it's a 6-month stint, but as you probably know, I'm a rather quick learner. So I did that all within a month, and I was on a flight out to South Africa and spent 3 months out there.
Wow.
And that was my official start of being a team leader, and it's been the same case ever since.
It's amazing to think you evidence there something that I think we need to talk more about externally, which is the opportunities that present themselves to people within our industry come quick. You know, you're talking 4 months, then you did QA, then you did a month's kind of training, and then before you know it, you're on a plane. What was South Africa like?
If people have never been, I would highly recommend going. So the UK, everybody's happy-go-lucky. Now in South Africa, it's something completely different. So you're working with people that essentially have nothing, and when you're going in there with the skills to teach them and how to make something of themselves, they're like sponges. They're taking everything on. Everybody's super appreciative. You get the odd few that obviously are obviously against the grain, but for the majority, the people are just second to none. And if I had the opportunity to go back, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
So you were there, what did you say, 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months. Unfortunately, if you want to go any longer than 3 months, it's a visa, and they take a long time.
So when you came back, what would you say the main sort of skills that you'd learned? And those don't need to be necessarily specific to the job, but just about yourself and your kind of leadership approach.
You learn to deal with different bouts of people. So, like you have in the UK, you've got different sort of demographics, and it's the same thing with South Africa. It's just going slow. Walk before you run. Was probably the first thing. It's always difficult to try to list off skills that you think you pick up, and you assume you've had them all that time, but in reality, you pick up so much.
Now, everyone in the community knows you're a confident guy. You're a very active learner. But were there ever times, especially, you know, this is your first venture into leadership, and not only that, it's in a totally different country, different culture. Were there ever times when you felt either overwhelmed or, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing? And if so, how did you handle that?
So imposter syndrome definitely hit within the first couple of weeks being out there. Like everybody's looking up to you as the sole point of reference, and was never used to that. And the way I handled it was just take a step back almost, and taking into account to everything that you're doing, everything that works, and it's essentially you're just teaching the guys on just doing the same sort of thing, but in their own way to translate it. And whenever things got a bit too much, Dan was always back in the UK, so I'd always recap, have that reignite that spark a little bit, and then jump back in, and then go again like nothing ever happened. And then that happened about about 2 times while we were out there, and grew massively within that time.
It's interesting because you highlight there the power of having a network or a trusted person that you can just go and speak to and say, hey, here's where I'm at, you know, whether that is someone that's managed you, a mentor or a friend who understands the industry but might not necessarily be in it with you on that specific project. Making that, yours is kind of like a accelerated transition from agent to team leader, given the challenges that and the project you were thrown into. We have an aspiring leader space in the community. What would you say to people who are agents now and that they want to make that transition? What are some of the things that they could be doing to help make that jump and help make that jump successful?
So what I found was the mistake I was making within the first month of working was I was waiting to be asked to do certain things. And what I'd probably recommend people to try and do is have a look around what's happening, try and get yourself involved with what's going on, whether it's within your role, whether it's something that you think that's probably completely irrelevant, because essentially if you don't ask for anything, you're not going to get it. And sort of industry that we're working in, it's not good things come to those who wait. It's a case of good things come to those that go out and get it. So if you're worried about taking that leap of faith, make the mistakes as an agent, because then it's the lessons learned when you become that team leader, because it's inevitable, and especially when you've got the right attitude.
Which you have in spades. So I want to ask you about, again, within the community, you've evidenced time and time again that you like to self-learn. You go out and you read books, watch videos, do whatever you can. Did you have any specific leadership training, or was it a case of you actually were so involved in that project in South Africa that there was no time for that?
Definitely a case of so involved that there weren't any real time with it. But what I'd do in the after time or when I went home, outside of checking calls and stuff, would be learning different methods. A key person that I'd look to would be Simon Sinek. Being new, the foundation training that he's got is second to none. And a lot of the foundations that everybody uses now for training on coaching and how to handle different types of people, he's the first person that comes up within searches. Not just because he's got decent SEO, but he's actually genuinely good. And there was never any real structure. It was a case of I come to a hurdle, I know what the problem is, and then I just search for the answer to that. And then look at a few different ways on how to implement it, different types of people, what would work, what wouldn't, and then it'd just be a constant battle of chemistry, trying not to cause the wrong chemical reaction.
So you've come back from South Africa. What happened then? What were you doing then?
So within, I think it was 2 weeks of landing back, there was a new campaign taken on. Where there was no other team leaders or anything like that, and I'd be solely responsible for the success or the decline of that campaign. Bearing in mind, it was 3 months under the belt of Washi team leader role, but came in, the team that I had, they was all brand new, never been on the set of phones, and they was trying to get people to agree to try and claim back on missold gas and electric at a time when gas and electric was doubled, quadrupled in price, and we just try to go through businesses and get them to agree for us to represent them on the mis-selling. Now, despite a genuine 85% of people being missold, it was incredibly difficult and nobody knew which way to go. I'd go through and ask for advice, and the only way I could find the answer was jump on the phone and find it for myself and see what would work. So I did couple of days on the phone and found some really quick wins, and then all of a sudden overnight the campaign became a success. Now ultimately the campaign did fall, but that was after I was taken off of it after 3 months, and then the team just fell apart. The camaraderie, when everybody was just cutthroat and doing nothing, being lazy, all because they want me to go back to the O2 campaign.
Well, it's interesting there you talk about camaraderie. Was that a conscious decision of yours to try and foster that? And if so, what were some of the things that you did?
So I wanted people to have one thing that works well within a team, and that's trust. Because if you can't trust the people you work with, then you're never going to work together. And we had a group target, and obviously individual wants to accompany that. But if you have a teammate next to you that's performing hard and you're having a bit of a bad day, that energy is going to slowly rub off onto you to then get you onto the same level. And that's the sort of thing I want to try and account for. But obviously, once I'd gone, they got a chap over from Belfast to do it remotely. And for that sort of role, outbound B2B, it's a rough campaign. It just all fell to pieces, and the energy levels went, and it became disengaged, and it was just really unfortunate. Now, fortunately for me, one of the team members that I had got quite close. His name's Joe. He is now working for Sky and is in a similar position to what I am now. So he's grown from being a newbie within the space of a year, and is now a team leader over there. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Well, these are some of the stories, aren't they? I think me and you have spoken before. You know, a lot of my time as an agent and then as an early team leader was in outbound campaigns, and you live and you die by the performance, but within that kind of competitive environment, you learn fast. You try different things. You're prepared to accept failure on a daily basis, hourly basis. But it makes you creative. It makes you resilient. It makes you try and do the things that can keep your team going. Because to some extent, you could say, and I'm sure people will get annoyed about this, but in my experience, you could say, if you're purely on a customer service campaign, there can be moments where it's okay to kind of freewheel a bit. If you're in a sales environment, those moments where you're freewheeling can cost you a good day or a bad day in one call, 1 hour. So it and keeping a team on the go during that as a team leader is both a challenge, but I think I learned the most during that period than when don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed managing customer service teams, always have, but it was in those sales team environments that I learned the most, without doubt.
Yeah, but I think the thing I took away as the quickest lesson is if you're going to fail fast. Because you learn way more from the bottom than you ever do at the top. And if you ever feel like you're at the top, look around because somebody's already overtaking you.
Now that first team leader that you had, was it Dan? How much did you take from him in terms of how you manage a team?
So as for how I actually do it, it's completely different. Because he's very out there and in your face, and whereas for me, I feel like I'm a little bit more reserved than that. But I hope it comes across as just as supportive and getting the same sort of performance out. But yeah, similarities were completely different, but the foundation of that is exactly the same. It's just being all communicated differently because we're two completely different people. And if you try to be the same as somebody else, then what's the point of being unique?
Yeah, so true. Again, if we're thinking about that transition from agent to team leader, what are some of the things that you now talk to your agents about who say that they do want to progress?
So it tend to bring them to one side to strip back on what they've currently got and what they feel like they're missing. Now, it's not a case of going ahead and telling them what I think they've got to do before they take a position. I'd like to find out where they think they're at. Because most of the things that they start listing off, they've already got in spades. It's more of a self-confidence thing. And then what we do then is go ahead and make a plan on what to do, when to do it, and how we're going to go about getting there. And I found that works really well at the last place. And it sort of just needs adapting for the different businesses, the sort of promotion paths and where they look, and just getting them onto the radar when promotions become available.
And do you see your role, a key part of your role, as being their champion?
Sometimes I feel like it is when the numbers are a little bit down, and then they need a little bit of support in bumping the numbers up. So I just put everything down, chuck a headset on, and start jumping on and selling again. And then seeing the sort of enthusiasm that I bring to a call, everybody looks like what is going on here. And something that's a common thing is everybody looks a bit funny when I'm stood up and walking around whilst I'm talking on the phone, and not everybody's wondering what's going on here, and you think better on your feet. It's
Yeah,
just
well,
as simple as that.
we used to do that a lot. There were definitely team members who would spend most of their shift stood up talking. We would always do a power hour where everyone stood up, and it does make a difference, certainly to your voice and your energy, and changing your physical state. I think is really important, just to keep the energy going, and it gives you a bit of a boost for sure.
Yeah.
When I think about the future, then, so you're a young guy. You've done loads of different things already. Can you remember the point where you thought, actually, this industry is one that this can carry on. I can keep having new challenges. I can keep getting either promotions or doing different, areas of the business.
So that came to light when I got the secondment onto the quality or the QA department. So it wasn't even the South Africa aspect. So I stepped into essentially one side of the business, something completely different, and thrived within that. I then went to obviously from the QA to then want to be fast tracked to team leader to then go out to a different continent, and it's just like it just absolutely flew from the get go. And it might be rare where that actually happens for most people, but if you don't try, it definitely won't happen. But I think our industry is one of the very, very rare places where you can get promoted very, very highly with zero qualifications. Like even now, if you ask me what qualifications you've got within a contact center,
Yeah.
absolutely zero. But it's more your human skills, and the better human you are, the better you're going to be in this industry. I mean, being able to talk a bit of rubbish is always handy, but being able to target that, it's a different skill set, and it's so totally underrated.
I completely agree. And what are your kind of aspirations for the future? What do you hope to do?
Um, I mean, my ultimate end goal is to be retired by the time I'm 40, maybe 50 as an absolute push. Because I just want to be able to do my own thing, and that's what I'm always working towards. It's not taking a minute to rest. It's a case of you've got all those years after you've retired or whatever else, and so my goal is to earn enough revenue to be able to do that. And having working in the industry, that's always healthy. Business outside of work, that's doing well, so that's going to help speed that whole process up. And end goal is being able to choose to work.
I can tell you, I love that, but as a 50-year-old man, it makes me feel very, very old.
Um,
Jordan, you're a massive member of the team leader community, and you're always there to help others. I can't thank you enough for what you do. Oh, I see we've been joined by Dara. Hi, Dara. How you doing? I don't know if you wanted to write something in the chat, but me and Jordan were just talking. This is a whole series we're going to do of that kind of journey from agent through to team leader, and then how to thrive as a team leader. I'm actually going to edit this and turn it into a podcast. I might edit that last bit out about being being 50. Just out of interest, Jordan, what is your like side hustle?
so I do retail displays all across the UK. So I do the installation. It's very rare they actually do the design part because it doesn't make as much money. But installation is very, very lucrative.
And what is that for then? What when you say retail?
So when you walk into, let's say, PC World, and you walk in and you see the different displays for like Samsung, Microsoft, and all the massive displays that you see in there, I'm the sort of guy that goes in and fits all those in. So I've got a team of 6 people on a subcontractor rate, and whenever there's big jobs in, just get everybody down and we go and do that sort of stuff.
You're a young entrepreneur, and that's something I've noticed within the community as well. There are a few people that have very active, very successful kind of side hustles. I think it's I think it's great. I think it's really interesting, and probably a sign of things to come for the next generation as well, following you.
Yeah.
That there is going to be this like, what am I doing myself? I'm not just going to be totally reliant on a company. God only knows how you find the time.
Very difficultly. Hence circles under the eyes, but it's temporary. But I think it's a case of there's a lot more people now thinking not just outside the box, but some people just thinking as if there isn't a box to begin with. And obviously, the moment people start believing that you will go as far as your mind will take you, because your body gives up long before that. The further people will go, the more happy people will be, and hopefully people start taking the path, stop taking the path of least resistance, and make life a bit more difficult for an easier end.
Yeah, choose the hardest path is what I'll always say. Well, Jordan, this has been great. Thanks so much for sharing. Like I say, this will go in the community first, then I'll edit it and add a intro and an end, and then this will be a Get Out a Wrap episode that will go out on Friday. So look out for that, and thank you very much, my friend.
Anytime.
Have a good one, and thanks, Dara. See ya.
Take care, brother.